respected Ms. Dr. Ekta Upadhyay ma'am. Dr. Ekta ma'am is Associate Professor and Head of the Department AIML and Data Science at Universal College of Engineering. She is an eminent speaker with a vast experience including research and academics. She has a specialization in the area of AI, machine learning, and data science. I hope that we all can take this opportunity as a golden chance to understand the artificial intelligence from the expert. So without wasting time, let's begin with the webinar. So I request Dr. Ekta ma'am to please start with the session.
Sure, sure. Aparna, thanks a lot and Vaishali also, thanks a lot. Am I audible, students and the
Yes.
faculty members? Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes,
thanks a
ma'am.
lot for inviting me for delivering a webinar on AI/ML, on AI basically, right? So students, before starting with the webinar, and we I just like to have a quick check on, since it is the afternoon time, post lunch time, and a quick response on your chat boxes whether you all are awake or not. So type a Y if you all are awake. Yes, quickly on your chat boxes, if you all are awake, please type a Y. Okay. So receiving responses from the students, as in, okay. Nice to see that maximum of the students are awake post lunch, which is not possible otherwise. Yes. So with me, I also have my four Universal College of Engineering students who are basically final year students in computer science, in computer engineering, and I have selected these students because they have developed their final year projects into AI. Yes, and to give you all insights into the applications of AI, rather than giving a theoretical knowledge about AI and then talking about the applications of AI. So why not giving you a live demonstration about the AI projects, right? So these four projects will definitely give you more insights into what is AI actually about. Okay, so let me just quickly get into the presentation. So we have lined up the things as in, for the first 15-20 minutes, I will be delivering a talk on AI. Post which I will be having my students who will be demonstrating their projects, right? And if you have your queries related to the projects or related to AI, then you could post it on your chat boxes and we will respond to you in the end of the session, right? So please post your queries in the chat boxes, right? Allow me a minute to just present my screen. Okay. So with this, yeah, is it visible to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Sure, sure. Okay. So the topic that I have chosen for today is, can machines think, basically, right? So we are not here to deliver the definition of AI or the applications of AI, but rather we are getting into the academic purposes of AI. As you all, I believe the audiences is from third year of ITCS. Yes, and they have already done their curriculum into AI, if I am not wrong. Can anybody respond on the chat box if you have done a course on AI in your curriculum? Do I get
The,
a
sub-
response?
the subject is currently in this semester. They are
Okay.
learning.
Okay, so in this semester they are currently going on with the AI syllabus, right? Okay, okay. So so the topic that I have chosen, students, is, can machines think, basically, right? So when I say can machines think, is a variable term wherein I want the machines to think like what? I want the machines to think like humans. Okay. So, what is the difference between a machine thinking on its own and a human thinking on its own? Right. So, is there any difference between both or not? That is what we are going to see. Now, Allow me to go to my second screen, to go to my second slide, and my second slide says, what is human intelligence? Now, could anybody post a quick response on your chat boxes? What is human intelligence basically? So when I say I am intelligent, when I say that X is intelligent, X is an intelligent person, Y is an intelligent person, or every human has got some intelligence, some amount of intelligence, some proportion of intelligence. So what is human intelligence basically? So I'm getting a response from Akash Mali, and he's saying that human ideas is human intelligence. One more response, human sense is human intelligence. Okay, can I get some more responses to this? What is human intelligence? Okay, so Ankit is saying knowledge is intelligence. Okay, okay. Any more responses? I've got 3 responses meanwhile. What is human intelligence? Understand and use of knowledge is human intelligence. So when I get into the application part of it, that is intelligence for Madan. Okay, and mental quality is also intelligence. Power of thinking is intelligent. Okay, adapt to a new situation is intelligence. Okay, so if I want to get into the precise definition of what is intelligence for me, is intelligence for me is the capability of reasoning, problem solving, and learning. So I'm putting it up on the chat box, and tell me if I am correct. So I am saying that human intelligence is reasoning, problem solving, and learning. So whatever you all have responded, I have summed it up into 3 qualities of human intelligence, much more to it, wherein I take the first quality as reasoning, the second is problem solving, and the third is learning. Okay, do you agree with this? If you agree, type A in your chat boxes. Okay, nice. So I see that the whole audience is agreeing with me. Okay, so that is human intelligence for me, right? So now we come back to our next slide, and my next slide says that if I know everything about human intelligence, now can I come to what is artificial intelligence, students? Again, a quick response on your chat boxes. What is artificial intelligence for you? If I say that reasoning, problem solving, emotional behavior, learning, knowledge is human intelligence, then what is artificial intelligence? Precisely, I want the answer in 3 words, not the whole definition of artificial intelligence, what you all are learning in your curriculum, but then 3-word response to your what is artificial intelligence for you. Okay, so for Ajay, artificial intelligence is pre-programming. For Abhishek, it is intelligence in machine. For Gaurang, it is human intelligence in machines. Okay, so Ankit is saying that reasoning, problem solving, and learning, whatever we expect from human intelligence, the same thing we expect from machines also to do. Very nice, super. Okay, so Vineet Dedia is saying digital decision making is artificial intelligence for him. Okay, so now I am coming to my next slide, which will give you a clear cut thing about what is artificial intelligence and why am I breaking it up into so many parts? Right. So can you see my slide? And my slide says that, now students, I want you to get to the bottom of the slide first, then we get into the topmost part of the slide. So what is AI? Now there are various definitions to AI, like you all have different definitions to AI. It is broadly into 4 categories. Now the first category says that the systems that think like humans. Okay, so I want to develop a system that basically think like humans. Okay, the second category states that the systems that act like humans. Okay, there is a difference between thinking like humans and acting like humans. Okay, the third is systems that think rationally, and the fourth one is systems that act rationally. Now when I say systems that think rationally, means what? I am not saying that humans are rational. Rather, I want to say that the systems that think rationally means when I develop some logic, my system has to work with that logic only, right? So that is what I want to say when I say that systems that think rationally. That means they perceive, reason, and act as far as the computation models are concerned. Okay, now we get back to the first part wherein I say that systems that think like humans. So when I say that the systems that think like humans, what do I want the system to do? I want the system to do some sort of problem solving, do some sort of learning on the basis of how humans do it. Okay, when I say the second part, I want the system that act like humans. When I want the system to act like a human, I want it to behave like a human. That means to perform the functions as humans do. Right? So that means when I am taking the food in my hand and putting it in my mouth, this is how humans eat food. Right? I want the same thing for my AI system to do. Right? If I'm developing a robot and my robot, I expect that my robot should have the food as in a human is having a food. Right? So he is supposed to pick up the food from the plate, put it up in his mouth, and that is what I want the AI system to function as when I say to it to act like a human. Next is systems that think rationally, as I have already explained it to you. When I want the system to think rationally, that means I want it to reason and act like humans do. So why is this happening? What is behind happening this? And what is the consequences of this? What are the after effects of this? This is what is human thinking is all about. Now, if I say that everyone in this session is attending a webinar on AI, right? So what is the reason for these 65, 61 students attending AI session right now? What is the outcome of this? Why are they attending this? So these are the problems that are going on in your head currently, right? And something else is going on in my head, whether I'm delivering it correctly, whether the students are able to grasp it correctly, right? So these are the things that are going on in my head, wherein the coordinators are thinking about something else. Yes or no? Okay. So this is when I say logical thinking, this is what comes into logical thinking. So the students might be, the thinking process of the students currently is different. So I want the AI system, when I develop an AI system for the students, I want it to function like a student behavioral system, taking all the circumstances into consideration, right? So this is what is AI, taking all the four categories into consideration, right? So these are the four broad categories of AI students, that I want the system to think like humans, I want the system to act like humans, I want the system to think rationally, and I want it to act rationally, right? So these are the four categories under which we define AI basically. Okay, so moving on to my next slide, and what do I have next? Okay, now the question arises, now if I know that so one of the definitions of AI which I put it up out here is, so AI is the science and engineering of making intelligent machines which can perform tasks that requires intelligence when performed by humans. Simple. Okay, so now the question arises, what are these tasks that require AI? Who will define this task that require AI? Now, is it that, and now this is a question to you all, is it that all the tasks that is going on around the whole globe currently requires AI? Type a yes or type a no, a Y or a N. So what task is it that all the functionalities, all the activities that are going on around the world require AI currently? A Y if you agree, a no if you don't agree to it. A quick response on your chat boxes, please. So what are the things you feel that all the things in this world currently require AI? Or are there some limitations to it, that no, I don't want everything to be under AI? There are some things that humans can do still, and only humans can do still, which AI cannot do it. Okay, so currently I have got 3 yes and 2 no's out here, for which the students are into a partial mode, as in what is going to happen. Okay, so let me just put up some examples for you here. Okay, so the tasks that require AI would be solving a differential equation, a mathematical equation, a brain surgery, which is currently happening, inventing stuffs, playing a Wheel of Fortune game. Now, the question arises: do I need AI to do an activity like, what about walking? What about grabbing some stuff from the table or from somewhere? What about pulling your hand away from the fire? How about watching television? And what about daydreaming? So what do you think about these questions, students? Right. So yeah, so what about pulling your hand away from fire? Right, who is going to give this sense to my AI system? This is human intelligence. So when is AI going to get this? Is it that, do I have a system for this right now, a human assisted system, such that whenever I'm near fire, my hand should be pulled back if it is going to catch fire? I don't have any system currently. How about watching television? And what about daydreaming, right? Which is ideally the most important task that all of us do in 24 hours. I think 1 or 2 hours we spend in daydreaming only, right? So these are the tasks that we are supposed to think about, wherein I want to get information about what should be the next task that AI should do for me. Okay, with this, I come to my next slide. And what are the different types of artificial intelligence, right? So, students, you might be learning about knowledge representations, neural networks. I am not getting into that. What am I getting into is something different. Different types of artificial intelligence, right? So, when I talk about different types of artificial intelligence, as we have seen from the definition, so modeling exactly how actually human thinks, right? Modeling exactly how humans act, modeling how ideal agents should think, that is rational thinking, right? And now my modern AI, that is the current AI, focuses on what? Current AI does not focus on saying that my machine should work like human, right? So when I am talking about it, I want first to it to think like humans. So modern methods are inspired by cognitive and neuroscience. One very good example I would like to give here for the modern AI concept is neuro-linguistic. Now, when I say neuro-linguistic is the current happening thing going on in AI, wherein I have my HR department, HR, that is human resource department, that is going to conduct the interviews of the candidates or an interaction with the candidates, taking neuro-linguistic approach into consideration. So no assessments, right? They are just going to study the behavior. The system is just going to study the behavior of the candidate, and on that they are going to decide whether this particular candidate is suitable for the so-called job post or not. Okay, because many of the companies fail here in taking the behavioral pattern of the candidate into consideration, right? So these are the different types of artificial intelligence. Students, now we come to something very important, and that thing is, if you can see the slide out here and you have done your basics of AI, have you heard about Turing test? A quick response on your chat boxes. Have you heard about Turing test? Okay, nice. So if everyone has heard about Turing test, it is just like, well, what am I deciding? Yeah, I'm deciding where can machines think or not. And on what basis are we deciding whether can machines think or not? It is the interrogator who is going to question the machine and the human, right? Same questions to both of them, and the responses to be received. And on that basis, the interrogator is supposed to decide whether it is the person who's giving the answer, and which is the person and which is the computer in that case. So that is a simple Turing test that can be done, that was done in 1950s to decide whether machines can think or not. Okay, so now I am getting into the academic disciplines of important to AI. Academic disciplines important to AI, right? So when I say you are learning AI, what are the prerequisites to learn AI? Okay, it is not that only standalone AI will give you the whole knowledge about AI. Okay, you will have to learn some prerequisite subjects to actually get into AI and to develop something very innovative in AI, right? So the first important concept is philosophy. And why am I needing philosophy? I need philosophy to develop some logic. I need philosophy for some amount of reasoning that my human behavior does. I need philosophy for learning. I need philosophy to get the language perspective into consideration and also for rationality. Okay. Now, next is mathematics. And why do you need mathematics? You need mathematics for algorithms, for formal representations, for computation, and for probability. So, some amount of probability always required for your AI algorithms. Next is I want to know something about economics as well. So I need to have some basic prerequisites about economics, that is decision tree, decision theory. Next is neuroscience. You would have heard this when your ma'am would have started with AI topic, neuroscience. What are neurons? Neurons are basically information processing units inside the brains. Okay. Next is psychology. And why do I need to know psychology? For cognitive information about human behavior. Next is obviously you need to have your basics very strong into computer engineering, because I want my algorithms to perform fast. That means I want the system to be responsive as early as possible. And next is linguistic skills, wherein I want the knowledge representation and the grammar to be very correct. Now, this grammar is different than the English grammar that we all are talking about. Okay. So these are the academic disciplines that are important for AI whenever you want to get into the depth of AI. Okay. Yes. So now we put this question as in I want the machine to be smarter. So can machines think? So can I make a smart computer? So can I make an intelligent computer? So what does it take to make an intelligent computer? So I have put it up as, when I want to make an intelligent computer, I want the hardware to be fast. I want the software to be foolproof, no mistakes. I want chess players at grandmaster level. That means the AI system that I am developing has to be the smartest. Next is speech interaction. How am I going to do my voice interactions? Next is image recognition and understanding. Next is what sort of learning am I going to provide to my AI systems? And last is how about planning and decision making? So these are the components that might be useful for everybody to make an intelligent system, right? An intelligent system that performs well, taking hardware and software into consideration, taking the voice into consideration, image into consideration. It learns at a faster pace, and then planning and decision making. With this, I move on to my next slide, and we take every minute thing here into consideration. Now, can we build a hardware as complex as the brain? Now, my first thing is I want to make a fast hardware. So when I say I want to make a fast hardware, so that means what, students? That means that I want to make a hardware as complex as the brain, because I want my AI system to function like humans, to think like humans, to act like humans. So when I want it to function like humans, that means it has to have a brain capacity like a human. Is it possible or not? Right? Obviously, it is possible. That means a neuron, you know what is the science behind neurons. You know how can I make a computer a supercomputer wherein I've got hundreds of CPUs inside it. I increase the capacity of the RAM and I reduce the cycle time. That means that the order processing, the execution time is increased, is reduced out here. Okay, so what is the conclusion? Yes, in near future, I can have a computer functioning as a brain. But then now the question arises, if I have a hardware of the capacity of a human brain, right? My question is to everybody out here. If I say that I have devised a hardware, I have made a hardware that is of the capacity of a human brain, what is the surety that it is going to function like a human brain? Is there a surety that it is going to function like a human brain? A quick response on your chat boxes. Is there a surety that it is going to function like a human brain, students? No. Yes, whatever hardware I include to my system, without giving it the human behavior touch, without giving it the cognitive science concept, I cannot say that it is going to function like a brain. Okay, yes, with this I move on to my next slide. And now my question says, what is the allow me a minute to just reduce the size. Okay, what must an intelligent system be foolproof? Okay, so my question is to everybody, must an intelligent system be foolproof? So when I say foolproof, that means it is error free. Do I want my system to be error free? Okay, so Gunjan Mehta from my own Universal College of Engineering is saying yes. Okay, and many more students are saying yes. So okay. So that's an argumentable. I can argue on this. So I say that it's a no. So many students are saying yes. So I want an error-free system. Okay. So agreed that you want an error-free system. You are devising a robot to perform a task. That means error-free होके ही वो task perform करेगा. ऐसा होना चाहिए. But ideally, is it possible? If I throw a question to the students out here now, if I tell them to practice this for 5 days, right? And the 6th day again they make an error in the same thing. Right? So as a human behavior, am I prone to making errors? Are we prone to making errors? Yes or no? Yes. So if we are prone to making errors, how can I make a system that is foolproof? Because an intelligent system is going to learn by making mistakes only. Right or wrong? I want an intelligent system to learn on its own. Yes, and if I want an intelligent system to learn on its own, the moment it does not make any mistakes, how is it going to learn on its own? That is not possible, right? So must an intelligent system be foolproof? I will obviously set the target of being foolproof, but it is not possible to make an intelligent system foolproof, taking all these circumstances into consideration. Right, it is bound to make mistakes, and by taking the feedback loop into consideration, yes, by taking feedback loop into consideration, it is going to take that mistake into consideration, and next time it is not going to make that mistake. That means once it is going to make one mistake, and then I feed it back to the same loop, then second time it cannot perform the same mistake, it is going to perform some other mistake. Got it? So an intelligent system be foolproof is debatable, and I can debate on it. Okay, yes. So we move on to our next slide, and my next slide says, can computers play humans at chess? Yes, this is possible. We have seen this. And we have shown you the graphical representation out here, wherein Deep Thought and Deep Blue were the are the AI systems that are being made to and what has happened. Even you have seen in the chess game with Gary Kasparov, right? So that is known to everybody, so I'm not getting into it. So yes, so conclusion for this is yes, today's computer can beat even the bestest of the humans. Okay, now my question arises, can computers talk? A question to everybody. Give me a quick response. Can computers talk? Okay. So Akash is saying no, a computer cannot talk. Ajay is saying yes. So when I say a computer here, that's an intelligent system. Okay. So can an AI system talk? If I make it talk? Yes. So what is a good example of AI system being talking? A recent example, can anybody tell me? A quick example of AI being talking. Yes, Ajay is saying Alexa. Yes, nice. Sophia. Yes. Okay. But then Siri. Very nice. Okay. But then there is a common thing. Yes, yes. I got your responses, students. Thank you so much. Okay. But then when I say computers can talk, that means it is converting my text to phonetics, and the phonetics are being saved inside. तो वो knowledge से लेगा phonetic pronunciation, and then it will pronounce the words for me. But then there are some difficulties. And what are the difficulties? Have you seen Alexa speaking anytime? Okay. Now my question, or Sophia speaking anytime? Okay. Have you heard? Yes. So if you hear them speaking like Alexa or Sophia, you will come to know one thing, that the sound that comes out of those AI systems is unnatural. That means it is not human sound. You could make out. Okay, so humans take pauses, humans pronunciations are very different, right? So Alexa and Sophia being talking seems to be pretty unnatural at times. Okay, so now yes, so I put it up as when I put it up as, so my conclusion to can computers talk is yes, for individual words it can, but then when it is for complete sentences, it is bound to be unnatural to the user. When I say can computers talk, so that is my conclusion to computers being talking. With this, I come to my next slide. What is can computers recognize speech? Right? So when I say computers recognize speech, so it is basically speech recognition. So when I say speech recognition, there are n number of problems to speech recognitions. So when we also hear somebody else's speech, it is probably sometimes that the noise is more, there are two people talking, there is occlusion of sound, there are speech variabilities, it's a very fast talk, I'm talking very speedily, or else I'm talking in a very low speed. There are different things to it. That is as far as humans is concerned. So the same thing goes in for, can computers recognize speech? Can AI systems recognize speech? Yes. So the current AI systems are able to recognize speech for the order of 99% accuracy. So recognition of speech is one area where AI is very powerful. Okay. Yes. So with this, I go to my next slide. Again, recognizing human speech. Right. So if I give you the example that John's car has a flat tire. Okay. So it's a very simple statement, and I am saying the statement like John's car has a flat tire. Okay, and I am emphasizing on the word flat tire because this is human behavior, because I want the audience to know that John's car has a flat tire. Now, where are the boundaries between the words if I take intelligence system into consideration? That means, how is my intelligence system going to know that I'm going to emphasize the word flat tire, or else I'm going to emphasize the word John's car? This is because I interpret the meaning of the sentence, and so I put it up in front of you all in a same manner, right? But then an intelligence system needs to be trained for such sentences to be emphasizing those particular words which are being given emphasis, right? So this is one area where I feel that there is restriction as far as speech recognition is concerned, right? And quickly I go to my next slide. And okay, so this is one more thing. Can computers understand speech? Okay, now there is a clear-cut difference between students, and you all are going to tell me the difference. Here I was talking about can computers recognize speech, and here I am talking about can computers understand speech. Now, can anybody tell me, is there a difference between both, or they are same? When I say can computers recognize speech, or I say can computers understand speech, is there a difference between both, or both are same? A quick response on your chat boxes. Okay, so Ajay is saying there is a difference. Madan is saying there is a difference. Okay, so there are two responses that I have received till now. Okay, so if there is a difference, what is recognizing is just to detect, and understanding is fully known. That is given by Ankit Vanjara. Okay, so Ankit is saying that recognizing is only to detect the words, right? And understanding is to know the complete meaning out of it. Okay, so I give it to you, Ankit, for this. And okay, so now I am giving you one statement here, students, and the statement is time flies like an arrow, right? So the sentence is time flies like an arrow. What is the meaning of this statement? Quickly on your chat boxes, don't read the PPT. Time flies like an arrow, what is the meaning? We are humans, right? So we should know the meaning of this, of the sentence. Time. Okay, so Ankit is saying that time flows fast. Yes. Anybody else who wishes to respond, who has got some other meaning to it? Time flies like an arrow. Okay, so Madan is saying that time doesn't stop. Okay, but then, yes, okay. So thanks for your responses. Time passes quickly. Very nice. Akash is saying that time passes quickly. Yes. So how is my AI system going to take the students? Yes, when I give it to an AI system, what will happen? It could either take this as time passes quickly like an arrow. Yes, it could either take this as time passes quickly like an arrow, or it will take this as only time those flies which are like an arrow. Quite possible. So my system is saying that only the time that flies are like an arrow. And my third is time flies. It is taking it as one word. Time flies is something for my AI system. Time flies are fond of arrows. Correct or no? Yes. All the three interpretations are correct for the intelligence system, obviously. So I want my human sense, my human common sense to come into picture here. And then I say that only the first statement that is mentioned here, that is time passes quickly like an arrow, is correct. Okay, so this is what I want my intelligence system to get into as far as my human common sense is concerned. Okay, yes, so this is one very good example that I can put it up wherein I say computers understand speech. Okay, can computers learn and adapt? Yes, 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 of course, yes. Three yeses for this. Can computers understand and adapt? Yes, very nicely. What is the recent example to it? The recent example is self-driven cars, right? किसने अभी recently manufacture किया ना? किसने किया? Which company has manufactured it? A lot more into okay, Tesla. Yes, nice. So Tesla is the company that has into self-driving mode cars, right? So that's a very good example that computers can learn and can adapt to whatever information is fed inside it and whatever circumstances are given to it and being programmed accordingly. Okay, yes. So now can computers see? Now my next query is, can computers see? Yes, a quick response on your chat boxes. Can computers see? As in AI system see. Of course, yes, with camera, but then see as in what are you understanding with computers see? Computers don't have eyes. Yes, but then see means what? See means recognition of the objects in the scene. So please, I am highlighting this. When I say seeing does not mean that human eye or computer eye or camera. Seeing rather means recognition and understanding of objects in a scene. Right. So if I say that currently what you can see is this presentation, right, with a gray presentation slide with a blue background with ma'am's image out here and lot many people out here in the chat box, right? So this is what I want my intelligence system to function like, the way a human eye functions, right? So what does it take to recognize the objects, right? So why is visual recognition a hard problem? Because you could see it, the example that I have given here. I have represented A using 5 types. So A, and A, and A, and A, and an A. All are A for human eye. But is it A for you computers as well? Very difficult to say, because I can make it function. I can make it function to detect alphabets in an image, but then till when? And how many problems and how many such images is it going to take into consideration, and what is the accuracy to the image recognition problem? So this computer C is basically computer vision, right? So this is what is my next example to be. Now, can computers plan and make decisions? What is your answer to it? Can I say that computers can plan and make decisions, students? Is it possible for my computer to plan and make decisions? No, 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 no. Everyone's saying a no. And why is it a no? I have given a very good example here. Now, say you want to visit your cousin in another state or country, not in pandemic, but then otherwise. You want to visit your cousin in another state or country. What are you going to do? You are going to decide the dates, the flights, how to get to the airport. And this involves a sequence of decisions, plans, and actions, like a human behavior. And we humans do this, right? But then why is it difficult for my system to do it, for an intelligent system to do it? Because these circumstances are not predictable. Your flight gets cancelled. So what is my system going to do in that case? Have I programmed it for that condition? Did I program my intelligent system? Yes. If I have programmed it, then it will pick up the next schedule. If I have not, then it is going to break down. Okay, but then if I have also programmed it for this circumstance, that if my flight gets cancelled, then take another flight into consideration and please book my tickets. But then how many flights and how many dates have I given to my intelligence system to program it? Right? Because my AI system is going to function only for constrained planning problems, right? Wherein I have got limitations to everything, and it is not going to function otherwise. So for only constrained circumstances, it is going to function. That is, planning and decision making is working properly. Otherwise, it is not. Right? So when I say computers plan and make decisions, so I say a no to this. So for me also, it's a no. Okay, so we are not getting into the summary right now, right? So intelligent systems in your everyday life. I have picked up 4 examples for you: banks for check readers, for signature verifications, for loan applications; telephone companies for fraud detections and for classification of phone numbers. Next is credit card companies for fraud detection again, and computer companies for help desk applications. That means every day you receive automated calls nowadays. Those are nothing but your intelligence systems basically. And obviously your chatbots that are very much familiar nowadays and very much popular nowadays. You could add a number of things to it that AI is taking care of in your everyday life currently, in the current picture. Okay, now one application, that is consumer marketing. I'll just give you a quick gist about this application. You go to any store, any supermarket, you use your credit card, ATM card, or store card while shopping. So what is happening? So if you say that your card is secured, yes, your card is secured, your information is secured, but then you are giving an input to the algorithm, to the AI algorithm. And what is that input that you're giving to the algorithm? Is the customer's name, right? And from your transactions, it could also so it is basically a record maintenance that is done digitally for ex customer, right? उसने कितनी बारी शॉपिंग किया, उसने क्या क्या शॉप किया, उसने कितना अमाउंट स्पेंड किया, right? And on that basis they decide the consumer behavior, and on that consumer behavior they try to launch out their new products to them, and then they target those customers, basically called as targeted marketing, wherein you receive calls for new credit cards, credit card launches. We have got a credit card for you, please buy it. So this is the hot area in marketing that is going on. So what do? They do basically something called as data mining to find out patterns in your data. And they use those patterns for the algorithms to learn about it. And then they proceed in for their targeted marketing. Okay. Yes, so this is one example for your consumer marketing that is going on currently. Right. And the other is machine translation, right? So if if iPhone, so I pick up iPhone 12 example for this. So iPhone 12 has Apple has launched it's iPhone 12 currently, and when iPhone 12 is launched with a software manual to it, with a product manual to it, and releasing it worldwide. So I've got Japanese, Koreans, Vietnamese, so many people around, Indians, right? So what language is it going to use? कौन से लैंग्वेज में वो सॉफ्टवेयर मैनुअल बनाएगा? Is it going to make it in all the languages and sit down and type out all the languages? No, they are simply going to use translators to translate the manual into n number of languages for them. And who's going to do that for them? The machines are going to do that for them, right? And the machines are very well versed into translating mode currently. Okay, so machine translation is the current AI application that is going on. Okay, so what have we seen in today's lecture, students? In today's session, we have seen that it is very easy for my system to do speech, images recognition, learning and adaptability, and planning, reasoning, and decision making is not possible as of now. So now, till now, AI has made substantial progress in recognition and learning, right? And AI applications are many into industry, finance, medicine, and science. AI research, many of the problems are still unsolved. Okay, and obviously, I am telling all these students from my engineering college, AI is a fun research area. So please get into it. Whatever deployments, whatever projects you want to make, you can make in AI, and then get into the insights of it and develop some innovative products. Right. So with this, I come to an end with my presentation, and you could connect with me on my LinkedIn profile. Yes, wherein regularly I receive posts for internships and job posts. So if you connect, you will stay updated with all those informations. Yes, and now I would like to welcome my student from final year of engineering. That's Harsh. So Harsh, are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Okay, so Harsh, would you like to present your demonstration for the project? Okay, so
Hello.
students, so Harsh, please continue, and you could share your screen. So Harsh is they are basically into final year of engineering, computer engineering, and they have made an AI based crop classification project. So he is only going to give you the AI application to it, right? So please be patient, and do listen to all the 4 demonstrations that we all are going to show here. Yes, and also please post your queries on the chat boxes. We will take it up at the last. Harsh, you may continue, please.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Harsh Rawal, and I'm going to demonstrate you a crop classification problem. But before that, let me just share my screen. Ma'am, just a second. Actually, it is saying that my screen sharing is blocked. Hello.
Harsh. Are you able to do it? Okay, so Harsh is presenting.
Yeah, is this screen visible?
Yes.
So I'm going to demonstrate you this crop classification problem. But before starting with this, what is classification? I would like to tell you the classification, instead of giving you the definition, the real life example of classification which we use in our daily life is Gmail. So in Gmail we have something called a spam folder. So you have noticed that some mails are automatically gets diverted into the spam folder, and you don't actually want to manually do it. So that thing is handled by. So this is an example of classification where the classification is between two classes: a spam folder and an inbox folder, or a spam folder and a non-spam folder. So that is a basic example of classification. So to perform any kind of classification, first of all, or any kind of machine learning application, first of all, you need to get is the data set. So the data set on which we are going to work today, and in a way, we are going to build a complete model from scratch. So first of all, you need a data set, and let me give you a quick idea about what data set looks like. So this is the data set which I have gathered. And in this data set, as you can see, we have something called a state name, crop year, crop area, production, and rest of the things. So what we are going to do is, based on all these parameters, we are going to predict this crop column. So when I say, if I enter area, production, district name, and all of the remaining features, I should get some crop output from my machine learning model. So how we are going to do that? So starting with, first of all, we need to import some libraries. So the first library is NumPy and second is Pandas. Now, after that, this dataset has to be loaded in a variable. So the loading is done with this statement, with this syntax. So data has been loaded. It takes some time to get load. So once the data is loaded, what we are going to do is we are going to see actually what the data is. So what just I showed over here, it is the same thing over here. So df is a variable which has our data set in it, and now we are going to pre-process the data. Now, this is a very important step in machine learning, where most of the task and most of the efforts which you are going to spend is on the pre-processing task. Now, pre-processing is very important for machine learning because the model which you are going to select, the algorithm which you are going to select requires some pre-processed data, or in a way some formatted data that it can learn from. So what we are going to do is, this production column has to be transformed because it contains value in very high ranges. So now here you can see the value is 500, and here you can see the value is 9,500. The difference is great, but this is still a very less difference. There are some value which also in there are some values which also gets at the range of 2 lakhs or 4 lakhs also. So that has to be transformed. So what I'm doing over here is, I'm creating another column called as yield, and that yield column will have a value such as, when production is divided by area, we will get the column called as yield. So what that means is, in yield means that, so first of all, let's understand this, that production, the values are in tons, and in area, this is the hectare. So when I say 21,400 hectares is my land is my area on which I want to produce a certain crop, and the production what I received was 2,600 tons. So when I get a yield column, this is tons per hectare column. So 0.12 ton has to be minimum 0.12 ton has to be grown on ton has to be grown per hectare. Now next what we have to do is you will see that the numbers are after decimal there are lots of numbers, so we need to convert it after 3 decimal points. So we did that, and this is the output. And now we will see the different state names that we have in our data set. So unique is a function which gives me the unique values in a certain column. So what I did is, this is the variable dot state name where I select a certain column and then I apply a unique function on that, which will give me the unique values on that in that column. And similarly, we will do that in crop column. So as you can see, these are the total crops that we actually have in our data set. And these are total 110 crops. And we need to build a classification model such that it can majorly classify all of them crops. But the problem over here is machine learning model does not, like, it has a power, but when you consider so many classes, like 110 unique classes, it will kind of lack some accuracy, and which we cannot actually sustain to have. So what we have to do is we need to select some very crucial crops that can be classified. So what I did is I selected top 24 crops from different websites that shows that this top 24 crops are the some of the crops that are grown mostly in India and in different states. So what I did is I created another variable and another data frame which consists of all of these columns. So we'll do this and we'll check the shape of this. Shape is basically the columns, comma, the rows, comma, columns scenario. So that means if I have around 1,27,000 rows in my data set and 12 different columns, then we will check the length of crop. So I said I have 24 crops, so it is showing me that I have 24 crops, and then I have total 29 states over here, and it's okay if we don't do this. Yeah. And now what we'll do, the same thing which we did for crop, we will do the same for the state as well. So this will be, yeah, this is done. And now the new variable on which we are going to work is this variable, and this is also shows me the state. So before we were having around 1,27,000 rows, and now we have around 1,21,000 rows, and the column remains same. Now let's check the state. It will give us that we have now 28 states, and this is the final data set as of now. Nothing much has changed. A yield column is 2 columns are extra added over here, and this column will nevertheless going to be removed after some steps. And now what we are going to do is we are going to remove this column immediately. So this column is going to be removed. Now there is something called as correlation. This CORR stands for correlation. That means that there are these columns where the correlation has to be measured. That means the numerical columns are to be considered, and based on these numerical columns, I need to understand that which column has the most impact on our overall machine learning model that we are going to be performing. So if you see crop and crop year has one correlation, that means it is totally related with itself, but it is related in negative way with area, and it is related in a 0.01% with production. So this is how correlation can be determined. It is not actually useful to build a model, but to gain a quick insight of how different columns are going to react with each other. So now what we are going to do is, machine learning is only good with numbers. But what you can see over here is we have we have this strings over here, which actually cannot be like, you cannot pass strings in the machine learning model. So what we have to do is convert all the strings into numbers, and then only you can build, you can pass this in an algorithm which will finally build you a model. So what we are doing over here is we are creating dummies. This is also called as one-hot encoding. So what we are doing here, we are taking state name column, we are creating a dummy of it. That means all the values are going to transform into 0 and 1. So what I'll do is, you just observe the number of columns that are going to increase after we do this. So first we have only 12 columns, and now there are 40 columns. Now based on district name, now we have 593 columns, and next is season. Why I chose only these three columns is because we have only these columns which has string in their values as a values. So this is done. Now we have to actually factorize the crop also. Now you see we have to predict the crop, and it is also a string. So we need to convert this column into number itself. So we'll do this over here, and we will just see which number is given to which crop. So Bajra is given to 0 is assigned to Bajra, 9 is assigned to gram. So when we pass all this into a machine learning model, the machine learning model is going to give us a number, but we don't know what the crop is. So what we'll do is we'll look up to that number. Suppose my machine learning model returns me a number as 15. So we'll look up and say that prediction is soybean, and that's how it's going to work. So we'll look our final data set. This is how it looks. And the next step is to divide the data set. So there is a features. So we need to divide the data set on the features and what we need to predict. So first, what I'll do is I'll just drop all unwanted columns in the data set. So I said unnamed column is unimportant. Now state name has to be also be dropped, because already we have created dummies of it over here. So state name is also be going to drop, and rest of the other columns which are not important or for which we have already created dummies are to be dropped, and this will work as this. And in the final, so this is the X column, and in the Y column we will get all the crop IDs. Crop IDs means these all numbers, not only the numbers and not the strings. And I'm going to just convert this name to normal yield to lessen some complexity. And now this is the main part. When we till now what we have done is all about pre-processing stuff, and which is also very important. But now here comes the sklearn part. Now sklearn makes machine learning very easy. You can just Google out scikit-learn.org, and you will see that they have very beautifully created all their documentations for different algorithms and everything. So we are importing something called a train test split module, which what the job is of this module is, it will take our features, which is x1, which is features are this yield. These are the state names. After state names, in between there are district names, and in the end we have season. So these are all the features, which are total 598 features, and it is going to predict one column, which is crop. So we are splitting our model into train test split, and using train test split. Yeah, so it is done, and now we are going to train. What I'm using, so now we require an algorithm to train, and training will be done based on random forest classifier. there are other classifiers also present. If you look on that website which I just said, scikit-learn.org, and you will see that there are other classifiers also present over there. But what I am choosing over here is random forest classifier. Now the training, now this is the main training part, where what we will do is we have already split the data into train test. Like there is something called as training set, which consists of X train and Y train, and there is a test set called as X test and Y test. Training is always done on training test. Training is always actually fitting is always done on training test, training data. So we will run this, and it takes around 1.5 minutes to while it gets trained. If you guys have some doubt, you can just post into your comments.
Yeah, thanks, Harsh. And we could see the output, and just waiting for the output to come out. And students, this was basically a crop classification wherein Harsh has tried to show you the whole demonstration of his project, a machine learning project, basically starting from pre-processing of the data till what algorithm, till what model has he used to model his parameters, and then lastly how to get the output out of it. Okay, so thank you, Harsh, and for your presentation. And Aparna, we will have one or two more presentations, demonstrations basically. And could we have Gunjan here?
As you can see,
Yes,
the training is done.
Okay.
No, training is still going on.
If you have the output stored somewhere, Harsh, do you have the output stored somewhere, Harsh, so that you can just present it, if that's possible?
Ma'am actually is having a bit of network issue at his end, I think so. So I'll just begin with mine.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so we have another presentation with Gunjan Mehta from Final Year Computer itself, and he will be showing you his project presentation, basically how is AI used in his project. Okay, so I would request Gunjan to go a bit faster, and yes.
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah.
So I'll just present my screen. Just let me know if it is visible enough. Is it visible? No.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is, this is taking a more longer than, it is done now. So now we will predict the score. Now we will check the score, what we have got after training our data. So like I told, training is done on this trained data. And now to test and to check the score of our model, we are going to use this X test and Y test. So we'll see that our accuracy is around 77%, and our training accuracy is around
Okay. Thanks, Harsh. Thank you so much. Can we have Gunjan
99%.
now?
So this is how machine learning model works, and this is we have finally created a machine learning model, and we can just predict the values from here.
Ma'am, I think so. He's having a bit of delay at his end. I think so. So I'll
If I just plot them in a table, yeah.
If you could
So
manually-
you will see that actual value was 18, and predicted value, which our machine learning model predicted, was also 18. In some cases, there are some exceptions over here, like 5 and 2. But as Ekta ma'am said, machine always works after making mistakes. So this is how it works. And
Sure,
yeah,
Harsh. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
That's
We
it
will
from
take
my
the queries
side.
at the last. Yeah. Thank you. Gunjan, can we have your presentation?
Sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. I'll just start again. So is it visible?
Yes. Okay.
So I'll just give a gist about it. My project is based on facial recognition. It is basically finding missing people using artificial intelligence. Now we all are using face recognition systems in our mobile phones and day-to-day lives. So actually, the thing was in India, every day more than 200 people are found missing. So we decided to make a project on it, and basically facial recognition on your devices is developed by some high-tech ML companies, AI companies. So we wanted a basic normal ML system, face recognition system that is implementable everywhere in this nation. So my project does is, most of you might have seen that if a person who is looking similar to you can unlock your phone, similar, not the same, not having the same facial structure. So sometimes the facial recognition algorithm fails in recognizing the original person. So what happens in that case is, we have done over here, what we have done exactly over here is, we have plotted 67, you can see these are the number of points that have been plotted, but we have actually 128 facial point pairs that are plotted on a human's face. I agree, some people might have similar faces, some people might have similar facial structures, but due to this form of plotting or mapping, you can avoid the discrepancies or the problems that arise when there are similar conditions. So now I'll just run my project. This is a pure Python code which is written by me, and so I'll just start. A UI will pop up over here. So it just takes some time. It is quite a heavy project, so just a sec. So this is my UI. It is not that much of a thing. I'll just do it once again. There's a bit of a problem. Yeah. So we just run it again. So basically what we wanted to do, or what we rather wanted to implement over here is, uh, you need to have a separate and a specific system that takes photos. See, I'm just uploading, this is basically this is my Firebase database, a real-time database that is developed on Firebase. So what we can do over here is, this is a station ID table. You can see this is a specific table over here. So once the policeman, we have a policeman in our scenario because missing reports are generally filed in a police station. So I'll select an image. So this is my face that will be recognized. Now there is a point in this: if the photos are not having clear backgrounds or are having multiple people in it, the system won't recognize it. We made it specifically like that because we want the person's face to be exactly plotted. Now I'll be showing the major application of AI that I'm doing over here. I'll just plot some random numbers over here, and currently you can see there is nothing over here. Null is written over here. So once I save it, see, success dialog box has popped up, and you can see under Wasai, in pending, you have G21 beat 77, the data I had put in. Now there is this. What is this encoded? Now those 128 facial point pairs that I told you some time back, those are encoded into strings. Now why so? Because we need a separate string, because my face is different, your face is different, everyone's face is different. The facial point mappings too would be different. So in this case what happens is, all those points are taken together and encoded into a string. Now this string will be different for each and every person that is present on this earth. That's it. So now I have this data set, or sorry, this database, and my entry is stored in the pending, and this encoded string is present over here. See, it's quite a long string. All the 128 facial points are encoded into string values. Now what do I need to do? So I'll just refresh. By refreshing, I mean I'm training my model over the images that are present in this Firebase database. Now what do I need to do? I just need to click this match. But before clicking match, it will just exit, because there is something that we have not done. Whom are we comparing it against? So now I'll just lead it to my code again. There is a user upload image. I'll just run it. So it will show something over here. The image is uploaded successfully. The connection to the database is established, and the image is uploaded successfully. Now, if you can see, I'll just, there's a bit of a problem, I think so. There's a bit of a problem, I think so, on the Firebase connectivity. So basically, the major application of AI was that I'll just do it once again. I think so it works. So what we wanted to do, because each and every person needs to be uniquely identifiable and needs to be discreetly analyzed by the police, by the machine. We don't want the police to have a rough view, or don't actually have no view about what is the difference or the similarity between those two people that are present on the photograph and that we can see in real life. So these encoded things, this is purely done using AI, the face recognition, the encoding. So this helps in identifying the people. So once the system is actually not working, the Firebase is crashing somewhere, I don't know. So what will happen is there will be a tab over here which says manual upload. So once I upload the photo, that is, the person receives a photo that yes, this person is missing. So the person's photo will be compared with all the database entries that are present over here. This is just a singular entry. A police station might have thousands and thousands of entries of missing people. So if a person finds, and this is a totally centralized database rather, so each and every police station will be having entries about everywhere, so about every city. So this encoded string will just be matched, not the face actually, nor the attributes, that is my name, my age, my father's name, nothing will be matched. It will just match the encoded strings. And it works well because your face does not carry different facial positions every time. You see, I'm not taking care of the marks you have on your face, the pimples or the birthmarks, anything. It is just taking into consideration these things. So if you have a long jaw, if you have a short nose, if you have broad lips, it does not take into consideration anything. Your face structure remains the same. So these points will be encoded, and these points are to be found, and that's it. So any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Basically I am using KNN. Now KNN is K nearest neighbors algorithm that we are using, that I am using in my project. And it is quite faster than PCA, that is principal component analysis, and Euclidean and different types of system algorithms. Of course, now the point is why KNN, because KNN is faster, of course. And KNN is used both for classification and regression. You will learn it in further ML, or if you have learned it's great. So KNN is quite a useful algorithm to be used in this. So if any questions, you can kindly put up in the chat box, else we'll proceed with the next groups.
Thanks, Gunjan. And could we have the next group presenting, please? Who's ready?
Yes, ma'am. So
Okay.
I'll quickly present my screen.
Sure. In short, and the final output. Yeah.
Yes. Just a second. So is my screen visible?
Not yet.
No, Vaishali.
Okay. I guess it is now.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll, just trust me. I'll try to, wind it up quickly. I only have 3 slides. So
Sure.
yes, my name is Vaishali Naik, and my teammates are Jisha Chirayat and Karthik Churasia, and together we are here to talk about our project, Emotune. Okay. So now, a project is an application of computer vision. Now, what is computer vision? Computer vision is a field of artificial intelligence that trains computers to interpret and understand the visual world. Using digital images from cameras and from videos, deep learning models, machines can accurately identify and classify objects, and then they react to what they see. Okay, so now let's quickly look at what Emotune is. To speak in simple words, it is emotion-based music player. Now, before I give you more ideas about the project, I would like to quickly tell you guys what motivated us to make this project. See, as music lovers, we had always felt that music players should do much more things than just allowing users to create playlists and listen to songs. What we believe is that a music player should be intelligent enough to automatically play songs which could suit the user's mood. A music player should help users to organize and play songs automatically
without putting much efforts into selection and reorganizing the songs. And this idea, this complete thought motivated us to make this project, which is which we call as Emotune, which could provide a better platform to all the music listeners and ensures automation of song selection and periodic updating of playlists based on users' moods. So quickly look at the features of our project, which is login sign up, mood scan, mood prediction, playlist selection, and music app features. We will be giving you a demo of our app. We have our app ready, which is not complete yet, but we have made it. So we will be showing you a demo of that. And okay, so talking about the algorithm which we have used for our project, it is CNN. So CNN has greater capabilities for image pattern recognition and are widely used in computer vision algorithms. So just to explain CNN in a very simple language, I would say that it is a deep learning algorithm which can take input image, assign importance to various aspects or objects in the image, and be able to differentiate one from the other. So now there are okay. So this entire thing is divided into three parts basically. Just to make it simple for you guys. The first is to take input as an image. Second is to perform operations to get features from the image, like it could be vertical or horizontal edges, curves, objects, etc. And third is that it gives new feature maps to neural networks for final categorization, and the input is obtained. Okay, so now I would like to explain you the image which is right in front of your screen in simple words. Now suppose this is the input image, okay, and then this entire thing out here is the process to detect objects or aspects in this image. So yeah, and then we get output finally. Now output here is just the list of objects which is detected from the image which was given as input. So ये basically simple language में मैंने explain किया. This is a very vast concept. Deep में जाने के लिए अभी time नहीं है, इसलिए मैंने एकदम simply इसे explain करने के लिए try किया. Okay. Now I'll quickly share a few interesting things about CNN before we look at the live demo of Emotune. So one of the interesting things about CNN is that it is similar to connectivity pattern of neurons in the human brain. Now, isn't that amazing? Yes. So the second thing is that the pre-processing required in CNN is much lower as compared to other classification algorithms. And the third thing which I would like to mention is that the CNN compresses the size of image and only focuses on the features of the image. So this was just a basic idea about CNN. Now I would request my teammate Karthik to quickly give a demo of Emotune.
Okay, Vaishali. So is my screen visible?
Yes, Karthik.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a project. Let's get into it. So we build a project on Flutter framework using Dart language, and let's skip the sign-in part and let's directly get to the implementation. So this is our main module of our project, that is detection of our emotions. We have opted two options for our users. They can ideally select an image from the gallery or take an live input, like clicking its what we can say selfies. So let me take a selfie of myself and let it predict what it is. Okay. Okay. So let's classify it. So you can see as neutral has more percentage than happy. We are opting out all the possibilities that it's predicting. It's predicting more neutral than happy. So right now I'm not showing any emotion, so it's predicting happy. Let's go for another image. Okay. Still it's neutral and happy, but we can it's giving us 67% of accuracy when we trained it. So it's basically all it can do. So next it gives us songs based on it, which is a backend. We are applying backend as Firebase. So there are stored songs and it gives songs based on the prediction of our model. So that's all from our side. And if you have any questions, please revert to.
Thanks, Vaishali and Karthik. Thank you so much. We take up the queries at the end of the presentation. Yes, do we have Amit?
Yes, ma'am.
Just demonstrate your project.
Sure, ma'am. So, hello everyone. Let me start the presentation with a question. Can AI overtake the jobs? So here we just import usual stuff. What machine learning brought is, when the conventional learning was, we used to code something, we used to give the input and we used to get result. For example, we would code add 5 numbers, we would give 5 numbers and we would get a result. But when machine learning came into play, the paradigm got shifted 180. Now we give them the result, we give them the data, the 5 variables, and the sum of the 5 variables, the result, and we let the machine to predict what the program does, what we have to do with the data. And with more and more data, it got more and more accurate, and it gave us the result that we have to add those 5 numbers. This is what the machine learning brought. Our project is to recognize dogs and which breed of dog it is. So we first thought of making web app, then we went for the native. We use a specific part of AI that is called as deep learning. In this, we use convolutional neural network and TensorFlow Lite, the Keras higher level API. This is how a basic neural network works. There are some inputs, there are hidden layers, and there is an output layer. The input layers take the input, processes some output. Math is quite complicated. So heads up, if you are not a math lover, machine learning is not for you. So suppose there is a 28 by 28 input, then there is total of 784 input. Now all those 784 input goes to the next hidden layers. There is an activation function, there is weight, and there are biases, and there is calculation, linear algebra as well as calculus. And after some calculations, there is an output. Now let me just explain in non-mathematical way. You see, it's quite natural to us. When we see an image of dog, we all recognize it. It's what comes naturally to us. We see 2 ears, 2 eyes, 1 nose, 4 legs, and yeah, that's a dog. Even a 6-year-old child tells that that's a dog. But it's really, really hard to code to tell computer that that's a dog. So what came in after generations of trial and error, that we should make an artificial neural network that would just focus on specific parts. For example, there are suppose n number of neural hidden layers. The one layer would just specifically concentrate on eyes, what kind of eyes that dog has. One would just recognize the ears. One would recognize how many grayscales or patterns are there on its fur. And in total, when we get at least 7 to 8 different elements, we would decide what kind of dog that is. So what's really important right here is your knowledge of a neural network, because coding is not hard. Coding of neural network is just 5 lines, literally 5 lines. With 5 lines of code, you can make at least 1,000 node deeper neural network. And to train a model, there's just 1 line. After training, we went with accuracy. The accuracy was not quite optimum that we wanted. The accuracy was around 80. So we went and we trained it more. We let it train on a computer for 8 hours straight. And after that, we got around 8.5. Accuracy was 8.5 to 6. And then we tried prediction. Now, let me not bore you with this. Let us go to the hands-on. Suppose there is husk. Suppose this is the dog that I want. As you see, I am quite shaky with camera. I just center cropped it and it tells me it's a Husky Sebastian. It's a 100% offline app. It doesn't work with any API or anything. It's a quite offline app. It gives a 41% match and the rest are there. You can even try this app. The app's on Play Store. You can go right now and type Snapdog. That's it.
Thanks, Amit. Thank you so much, and a beautiful app. Okay, so students, these were the 4 applications that we wanted to demonstrate in front of you, taking different domains into consideration, classification. Then we went to face recognition.
मैं हकला रहा था.
Then we went to we have also seen the
Sorry.
emotions. Then we have also taken the features into consideration to identify the dog. Okay, so these are the 4 applications, 4 different applications of AI that we wanted to present in front of you all. So students, if you have any queries, please do post it up on your chat boxes, related to the project, related to AI, whatever. Yes, Amit has also given you the link to his application. Yes, so that's from our side, for as far as your AI webinar is concerned, and hope you all enjoyed it. And we tried to give you some insights into AI. Yes, and a quick response on your chat boxes if you like the webinar, and more such webinars to it, to for you all lined up in the coming days. So we will see to it. And I also expect Aparna and Vishali, please kindly, that's my suggestion, please, if you can have a webinar on predictive models, that will help out your students a lot on predictive models. Basically, when I talk about predictive models, I also talk about linear regression. So if you could have a webinar on linear regression, we could give them
Yes.
a hands-on on linear regression. Yes, so that's all from
Yes,
our
ma'am.
side, Aparna. Yes, yeah, so thank you so much, and I hope there are no queries. The students are not putting up any queries yet. Okay.
Okay, so it was a very great session. We have enjoyed, and it's the good knowledge my students have gained. So, on behalf of Lord's Universal College, I would like to thank Dr. Ekta ma'am for her valuable time and guidance on the artificial intelligence. And also, I would like to thank the students who have demonstrated the project very well. They have put up the project in front of the students, and very well explanation was given by the students. As well as, I would also like to thank our students also for their participation and to make the webinar so successful. And participately, they have given the responses in the chat box. And also, I would like to thank Khalil sir also, and Aparna ma'am for their valuable inputs, and the students also. So thank you, ma'am, very much for the webinar, and for your great valuable time you have given us. Thank you, ma'am, very
Thank you so
much.
much. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot to my students from Universal College, as well as the students from LUC and MSG, for being a wonderful audience. Right. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, students. Thank you, ma'am. Everyone can leave the session.
जाओ वैशाली मैम अभी.